during our primary coverage tonight, if Joe Biden, as president of the United States, decided he wanted to come out and take a speech, we would take his speech. We would have listened to what he has to say. But on primary night after primary night, our competition sometimes refuses to take the winner. South Carolina was a big deal. It was a big vote. It told us a lot about where the Republican Party is going in this candidacy. One of our competitors took 4 minutes, another took 10. That's what you're going to do. Take news out of your name.
Yeah.
Because we should all be listening to these ideas and thoughts.
They're looking for the people that rigged the election.
Not only the man who is likely to be the Republican candidate for president, but this is the way he's running.
Well, here's how we'll balance it. Why don't we fact check the hell out of him?
So Fox News, the network who paid out $787 million for spreading misinformation about the 2020 election, are upset that other networks won't give unlimited oxygen to Trump's lies and disinformation, and they think they should remove news from their name. Someone tell the kettle Fox thinks they're black.
Take news out of your name.
Yeah.
Because we should all be listening to these ideas and thoughts. And if Biden came out, we would take him and be fair to his message.
Yeah, we do it all the time.
Well, let's make this clear. The reason that the networks have to do this, and they should do more of it, is because Trump is making it necessary. He is abusing live TV to tell lies. Now, you know what? If I lie to you right now, maybe I made a mistake, maybe not. If I come back on next week and I say the same thing, you shouldn't have me on a third week because I've known
Wait, let me write this down. Okay.
And
don't have Philippe on.
You know, what Trump did for the first term is that he ran roughshod over the networks. They never used the word lie. They were too afraid to do it.
Yeah.
And one of the lessons from that first term was call it out. And he makes it impossible to not do that.
All right.
If CNN didn't want to give an audience, they wouldn't have cut to it.
Let's break this down. In 2020, Fox, a major news organization, decided it was just another news day when it published the lie that the election was stolen. They went from being a conservative news network to a propaganda machine, from reporting facts with a certain bias to reporting lies. One of the first things I learned in journalism school before I went to law school was to fact check. To be honest, the necessity to report verified facts was something we barely touched on because it was a given. Something is not newsworthy if it is not factual, period. So we have in 2020 an entire network publishing lie after lie that the election was stolen. Fox has already paid close to $1 billion for these lies, but the lawsuits aren't even done. They have a massive shareholder lawsuit against the Fox board of directors because guess what? When you pay out almost $1 billion because you decide to repeatedly publish lies despite being a news organization, you have breached your fiduciary duty. You can't tell shareholders to invest in a news network only then to lose money for those shareholders because you cared more about appeasing Trump than being a news network. So unlike what this Fox contributor wants us to believe, the question isn't why CNN and MSNBC is not publishing Trump's entire speech, but why on earth is Fox?
Not only the man who is likely to be the Republican candidate for president, but this is the way he's running.
Well, here's how we'll balance it. Why don't we fact check the hell out of him?
Yes, and we do that after the fact, and that is the best remedy that we've got. It does not fix the fact that we broadcast it.
But it's
honestly
stunning that he's saying these things and people are hearing it. Let's just go through it, right? That we have the most devastating economy. Are you kidding me? We have had the best economic recovery of any country in the developed world. He's telling an audience right there, oh my goodness, the paltry oil production. We're producing more oil today than we ever have in the history of our country. Think about the American Rescue Plan, the infrastructure plan. We have created more jobs, 3.2 million more jobs than we had pre-pandemic. The problem that we do have is inflation. And so what Donald Trump does is prey upon the fact that people don't necessarily feel good and life's expensive. But when it comes to facts, here's something that's absolutely nonsensical and infuriating. When people's wages go up, they credit themselves. They say, I'm good at my job, I just got a raise. But when everything costs more, they blame the government. And wages are up, which is a huge positive. And one of those reasons wages are up is all the union wins in the last 2 years. And remember, President Biden has stood with those unions.
The most pro-union president in American history.
Can I just give you 4 numbers? I just was literally Googling and I just pulled up these 4 numbers. This is the gross domestic product in the country. In 2019, it was plus 2.3%. In 2020, it was negative 2.8%. That is the election year. That is the reason Donald Trump didn't get reelected. That was part of it. 2021, it was 5.9. And I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that. And 1.9 in 2022. Those four numbers, 2.3, negative 2.8, 5.9, and 1.9. There's one factor in all four of those, and Lawrence just said it. Donald Trump had one job. He had one crisis. He's saying, oh, all of these things were perfect. You had one crisis, bruh. It was called the pandemic. And you know what you did? You bollocksed it completely.
Now that Nikki Haley has dropped out of the race, how will Trump, the GOP nominee, be covered by the news? As Maddow points out, there is a legitimate question whether MSNBC or CNN should even broadcast his speeches at all. We are thankfully well past the stage where the networks carried his live press conference that were actually steak commercials, but when almost everything out of his mouth is a lie or an insinuation of a lie, our democracy cannot afford the amplifying of his message by the press. On the one hand, what the GOP nominee does is newsworthy. As voters, we should be informed of what candidates have to say about issues, how they will govern, and their perspective on important issues. That information is how we each decide who to vote for. Generally, we want to know if a candidate lies about something or says something racist or sexist. That helps us make a decision. But we also know Trump is not typical, and we have seen damage to our democracy from reporting his lies. We saw how in 2020 he created a lie, and then we saw how that lie was amplified by Fox, so much so that now 2/3 of the American public think the election was stolen. We cannot undo the damage to democracy that was done by allowing Trump's lies to spread. Journalistic ethics require that networks don't publish his lies or fact check them in real time. I absolutely think networks like CNN and MSNBC do the right thing by cutting away and not broadcasting his speech that includes lies. It would be even better for an anchor to restate his lie and fact check it in the same sentence than to broadcast the lie to begin with.
Good evening. I'm Abby Phillip in Washington. And just moments ago in South Carolina, Donald Trump accused the sitting president of the United States of hating black people.
It's the only thing he's really been good at his entire career. You know what that is? Being a racist, because he's a racist. Biden spent years palling around with notorious segregationists.
Donald Trump made that remark in South Carolina while making a pitch to the core of the Biden coalition, black voters. Now, Donald Trump failed to mention a few important things there. He was the guy who played footsie with white nationalists after Charlottesville. Donald Trump was the guy who had to be asked over and over again to distance himself from David Duke, the literal grand wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. And the actual Trump sales pitch to black voters was even simpler than that. Biden bad, Trump good.
And I'm thrilled to be here tonight with crooked Joe Biden's absolutely worst nightmare. Hundreds of proud, black, conservative American patriots. You shouldn't be doing well, because honestly, they've done a lousy job for you. They've done a lousy job for you. They've done a lousy job for everybody. But for black Americans, they have done a very poor job. If you want strong borders, safe neighborhoods, rising wages, good jobs, great education, and the return of the American dream, then congratulations, you are a Republican. It's pretty simple.
Trump says that he's not going to take the black vote for granted. He says under the last 4 years of his presidency, he achieved the lowest African-American unemployment rate ever recorded. But it turns out that's not true. The all-time low for black unemployment was set by, you guessed it, Joe Biden in April of 2023 at 4.8 percentage points. And Trump also added this.
Unlike racist Joe Biden, I've spent my entire life working hand in hand with black Americans to create jobs, build buildings, invest in our communities. I want to tell you, a black worker is a great worker.
All right, well, let's put aside treating black people like a monolith, which he did over and over again. Donald Trump's career has been marked by a detailed history of racism. He was sued in the 1970s for housing discrimination based on race. He settled that suit. And Trump also gave a pretty stunning reason for why he says black voters like him now.
I got indicted for nothing, for something that is nothing. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against.
Our standards for covering a candidate for higher office shouldn't be that you have more leeway to lie. This is going to come into play not just with his lies around our election, but in relation to the many criminal cases facing him this year. He will lie about the facts. He will lie about the judges. He will even lie about the juries. He will lie so much about our judicial system that if our news organizations continue to give him a platform to lie, we will end up with 2/3 of the American public distrusting our judicial system. Journalistic ethics require news organizations to treat Trump like the liar he is.
We had an election that we ended up getting many millions of more votes than we did. We did much better in 2020 than we ever even thought about doing in 2016. And very bad things happened. And from that moment on, it was a whole different ballgame in Texas and all over.
All right, we'll continue to monitor this. Just one slight thing I just wanted to add, because when you hear it, and you heard it from Donald Trump about the 2020 election, and it got millions of more votes, in fact, he did get millions of more votes, he still lost that election. That is not in doubt anymore. That's not being debated anymore. But I didn't want to get off topic too much. I do want to go to George P. Bush.
There is no justification to widely promote and publish his lies about his criminal cases. There should be no press conferences after his judicial hearings. Treat him like a regular defendant and let him tell his story inside the courtroom and ignore all the lies he says outside it.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.